Looking back, I feel like 2021 hit us hard.
After the transition at Auburn had ended, 7 years with football and falling in love with the players, we were kind of in transition, and I told my wife, I was like, I'm done.
He was like, I don't know if I want to coach in college again. And I brought up, well, what if Kelly called? And he was like, well, if Kelly called, we'll have a conversation.
We've worked together before, and she really values you as a person, and it's always felt like family.
We got a call in May from John and Kelly, and I knew right then, we're moving.
Brian came to work at Tennessee, which was awesome because I had worked with him before, obviously. The first day I saw him in Pratt, gave him a hug, was catching up and kind of noticed that he had this bump on his neck.
Years ago, when I first got to Auburn, I was diagnosed with Sjogren's syndrome. Some of your salivary membranes don't really work very well. When I got here, June 10th was my first day. I got to catch up with Cass. We'd worked together at NC State. We got to talking, and I told her, I was like, I would like to get my neck checked out because I feel like maybe it's something related to my Sjogren's. Didn't think really much of it.
I wanted to introduce him to Dr. Klink and get his take on where we should go from there.
He set up an ultrasound, and then right away they did a biopsy. I got the results on June 30th. I was diagnosed with stage 4 diffuse large B-cell lymphoma. That's a punch to the gut, for lack of a better term. How do you really handle that news? It's just like everything stopped for a second.
I get a phone call that morning. Brian said, hey, I'm here with Dr. Klink, and he wants to talk to you. And I was like, okay. So he gets on the phone and he's like, hey, Allie, the results have come back, and Brian has what we call large B-cell lymphoma, and that's the knot, that's the cell that's growing in his neck.
I had a conversation with Dr. Klink about kind of the prognosis. He said that it was definitely something that Brian could beat, that they were in the process of getting Brian set up with our specialists.
He kind of paces when things are going on, when things are happening. So I sat down at his desk, and Coach Kelly comes in, and she sits down, and she's like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm fine, we've got this. And she's like, you've got this. And she's like, and you've got us. We're here, whatever you need, we've got you. And I was like, okay.
We wanted to support him the best we could. I mean, here he just moved to Knoxville. They just bought a house. Their family's just now going to get settled, and then he's got to start working through chemotherapy.
When you hear cancer, your mind goes to a lot of bad places.
I told him, I was like, what is the one thing that you teach your athletes?
I always give them this little simple thing. I tell them E plus R equals O. Essentially, it applies to everything in life. Events happen. Some are within your control. Some you're just, it happens. But ultimately, to get the outcome, the O that you want, it's up to you to choose your response. You can sit there and be a victim. It's not going to lead you anywhere good. Or you can just own it, and from that point, just figure out what's the next step.
I think if you know Brian, he is a man of faith, and so that was his biggest thing. I know that him and Allie really heavily relied on their faith to get them through this, but he's also just a super smart person, and I mean, he probably has read every journal there is about lymphoma and cancer treatment and the effects of non-traditional treatments, and just always looking for ways to learn, and so I think that played to his advantage because he could take a proactive approach in his treatment.
The physical side sucks. It's so hard to describe if you've never had to go through chemo. It hits you hard. It's body aches, bloated, constantly sick. Me being kind of stubborn to some degree, I still tried to work as much as possible.
He's so passionate about what he does and our team, and he loves them, and he wants to win, he wants to give everything he can, but he couldn't.
Essentially, chemo for me was you go in, the process takes 4 to 6 hours. You know you're about to be really sick. Being someone who's constantly active and playing with the kids, running around, just go, 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 getting shut down like that, it does something to you. The biggest thing for me in terms of going through that is like, I didn't want to see my kids see me weak. I've been in strength conditioning now for 15 years. I've played sports since I was 6. I've always been around an environment where mental toughness and just dealing with adversity has just been commonplace. And so I told myself, I was like, physically I might be really sick, but this could be where I become the strongest mentally I've ever been.
He is a strength coach, so he's all the time working on building muscle and agility, but he is also a person who reads a lot and finds motivation and inspiration through that, and it also makes him stronger.
Every step of the way, how he handled it, yeah, he felt like crap. Chemo kicked his butt, but he had the right mindset, and he does not like to sit still. He can't sit still, and he has to be in control. And so for God to kind of send this his way and have to watch him to kind of release that control and just let go and let God, like it was pretty good to watch. When we got to go in and his white blood cell count was good, you know, Dr. Handel's like, you're right there. You're right where we want you to be. We're gonna ring that bell today.
I wanted to rip the stupid bell off the wall. I was so excited to be done with it. You know, it's pretty awesome. But if you got to see the video, it doesn't look like anything special because they had so much Benadryl in me, like I was barely awake.
To keep kind of everybody in the loop, I would post it every day. You know, every treatment I posted on Instagram. So a couple of them reached out and said, is he okay? Is he not happy that he just beat cancer? I was like, no, he's happy. I was like, but he's so doped up on Benadryl that it's just not all processing right now. You know, I was like, but believe me, we are screaming right now.
Everything that's happened has been just a whirlwind. The great thing about Tennessee is I've had support from day one, from the administration, from the staff. JT Thompson has been a huge part of our program. During some of my chemo treatments, unbelievably sick, no energy. I was able to still do all the programming and consult him and help him lead the girls when I couldn't be here. He's done an awesome job. Everybody on this strength staff and this university that I've come in contact with is absolutely phenomenal. But at the root of all of it is Allie. You know, she's kind of the glue that holds us together. Chemo, as much as it was a challenge in a lot of ways, it's actually been really awesome because every day I wake up is a victory. When I get to see Allie and the kids, time slows down a little bit. When I go get to be with the girls and live out my passion, that's what everything's about.